The Black Riders are one of the most highly anticipated legendary legions in the quest for the Ringbearer expansion. In this video, we're going to be going through their rules, talking about their tactics, and writing some lists for them. Previously, they've always been a super cool theme, but almost impossible to win with. Let's see if that's changed with these new rules. Let's not stuff around and jump straight into these rules. The Legendary Legion includes the Witch King of Angmar on horse, and he can take a Morgul Blade for 5 points. Always take the Morgul Blade. The Witch King has Fight 5, Strength 4, Defense 8, 1 attack, 1 wound, and Courage 6. Ringwraiths work differently to other heroes because you can purchase different amounts of Might, Will, and Fate for them. The Witch King starts with 0 Might, 10 Will, and 0 Fate, but you can increase those up to 3 Might, 20 Will, and 3 Fate, where each stat point costs 5 points. He causes terror and has 7 magical powers: Drain Courage on a 2+, Transfix on a 3+, Compel on a 4+, Instill Fear on a 4+, Your Staff is Broken, again 4+, and then Black Dart and Sap Will on a 5+. The Witch King does not have the option for the Morgul Crown. This is great because it's way more thematic to the film. Now, the only other option in the list is a regular Ringwraith on horse. These guys are very similar to the Witch King, with the only difference being that their stats max out at 2 Might, 14 Will, and 2 Fate, and they start with just 7 Will. They have the same spells except for Your Staff is Broken, which they don't have, and they cast Instill Fear on a 5+ rather than 4+. So, as we can see, this list is pretty simple. But that's exactly how it should be, perfectly thematic. Now, in this Legendary Legion, you must always include the Witch King of Angmar, and he becomes a hero of legend, and obviously you can only have a maximum of 9 models. There's nothing surprising at all there. This Legendary Legion has 3 special rules, and let's get into them. They make a huge difference. The first one is Terror in the Night. The sight of the Black Riders is enough to chill even the bravest hearts, even more so the more of them that are nearby. A model that is in range of between 4 and 6 models from this force with the Harbinger of Evil special rule will suffer an additional -1 to their courage value. A model in range of 7 to 9 models with the Harbinger of Evil special rule will suffer an additional -2 courage. Wow, that is so powerful. That means that models within 12 inches of all the riders are on -3 courage. It's -1 for the Harbinger and then an additional -2 for the special rule. This gives Black Riders so much control of the battlefield. A lot of armies will be courage 1. Every single army is going to struggle to charge you, meaning that even though you're outnumbered in models, you're not going to be outnumbered that badly in combat, and you'll have a lot more opportunities to cast magic. Let's get into the next special rule. Screech of the Nazgul. The piercing shriek of the Nazgul is unlike anything else in Middle-earth. Even the bravest can be stopped in their tracks. Each Nazgul, once per game, can cast the channeled version of the Transfix magical power without declaring a heroic channeling. This power is automatically cast, counting the result as a 6, and no will points are expended. The target may resist as normal. This is incredible. Channel Transfix is just like normal Transfix, but it also halves your opponent's attacks and fight value. So Aragorn's nice fight 6 says goodbye and goes down to fight 3. This is perfect for neutralizing big heroes. You can cast it on a big hero every turn and just totally isolate them from the game, or set them up to be taken out. And you can do this so many times. Each Nazgul can do it once. So even if those heroes resist the first one that hits them, there's another 8 waiting to go after them. It's great, and it's going to sap a lot of resources off your opponent and not cost you any resources. I'm super excited to talk more about it in the tactics, but we have one more special rule. The Will of Sauron. Friendly Ringwraith models do not lose a point of will for being in combat as per their Will of Evil special rule. Additionally, at the start of the fight phase, a single Ringwraith may declare a heroic combat without expending might. If they do this, they must move into combat with an enemy model that has the 1 ring. If not, the heroic is cancelled. I've said this every time, but I'm going to say it again. This special rule is incredible, and it changes so much for this legion. All of your will points you can commit to casting magic and not have to worry about holding on to them for combat. This means that you can be a lot more aggressive and get stuck into fighting instead of just relying on running around and shooting off magic. I also think that it really matches the theme. The Black Riders were adventuring while hunting for the ring for a long time and probably fought quite a few times. If they were losing will each fight, they would have vanished a long time ago. The heroic combat thing is really cool, but very situational. I'm glad that they included it, but it's not supposed to make a big difference to the list because it really doesn't come up that often. Those are the special rules, so let's talk tactics. We have so much to get into. Firstly, this army is all mounted, and ring race have heroic march, so you got plenty of mobility, and you do need it for this army. Playing an all cavalry army can be pretty tricky, and it's a massive topic in itself. But to sum it up quickly, generally, you want to charge on a turn that you have lost priority so you can determine how many fights you're fighting. This also means that if you've won priority, you need to end your movement 12 inches away from the enemy, so if they move towards you and then win priority next turn, they still can't charge you. If you're giving off -3 courage, this isn't as important to stick to, but it's a good general rule. You have very few attacks and will almost always be outnumbered, but hopefully, because your opponent struggles to charge you, you shouldn't be outnumbered in each fight. The Wraiths hate fearless models. Fearless models will be able to tie them up so much more effectively. If the enemy has a shaman or a hero that's providing bodyguard to surrounding troops, it is essential that they are neutralized as quickly as possible. In this situation, the Goblin Shaman is providing fury to all the goblins around it. On turn 1, the Wraiths will cast Sap Will until the Shaman is out of will. And don't worry, I know that these aren't the Wraith models. I'm just waiting for them to go up on that sweet made to order. In this case, where Faramir is providing bodyguard to the Fountain Court Guard, the Wraiths are going to cast Black Dart at him, one at a time, until Faramir is dead. Now this is going to cost quite a bit of resources, but it's always going to be worth it. Killing that hero is doubly bad for your opponent. Firstly, they're going to lose a big hero, and secondly, they're going to lose their bodyguard. Even a model like King Dane, who gives his whole army fearless, will go down to getting hit by 9 Black Darts a turn. Before the hero is dead, you need to be avoiding combat with your opponent. This means that if you're playing against the Black Riders, you need to keep that hero alive at all cost. Even if they're a big hitter, they just need to be hidden. Remember that Black Dart doesn't take in the way test, so you just need to be totally out of line of sight. Even if the enemy doesn't have Bodyguard or Terror, it's still a great idea to attack their biggest heroes, and this Legendary Legion is perfect for dealing with heroes. To kill a super beefy Defense 7, 3 Wound, 3 Fate model like Aragorn King Alessa or Boromir Captain of the White Tower, you should expect to successfully hit them with about 7 Black Darts. So each Black Dart is a Strength 9 hit, and it wounds on a 3+. If you use Might to force through a few wounds, or they get unlucky with their fate, you can get away with less. At most, a hero will resist 2 or 3 spells at most, so it's feasible that if you commit the will and might to it, you can do this in 1 or 2 turns, depending on how many wraiths you have. If you don't want to spend that much resources on killing them, the alternative is hitting them with Drain Courage so that they are sitting on Courage 0 when they get hit by the Harbinger as well. And they will very likely fail to charge you. However, do be wary because they still might get lucky. Another option is pulling them out of position with the Compel Magical Power. Your opponent might put them behind other models to try to stop this, but you have so many wraiths that you can just move all the models out of the way. Once the hero is pulled forwards, hit it with a free Channel Transfix and charge it with as many wraiths as possible to try to kill them in 1 turn. The Witch King's Morgul Blade may definitely help here. With major heroes neutralized, you still have the rest of the army to get through. Now this is not going to be easy when your whole army is just 1 attack. It's essential that you attack on the charge. This increases your hitting power by a factor of 4. You double your attacks to win the fight, and if you win, you then double your attacks to strike blows. So that's 4 attacks in total. Once you get into combat, you want to do as much damage as quickly as possible. Breaking your enemy becomes priority number 1. If you charge in, don't be afraid to call a heroic combat with every single wraith. Sure, not all of them will win their fights, but you can put out a huge amount of damage with the ones that do. And you're going to need to burn through your might super quickly if you're going to be putting out this damage. But that's okay because you're going to have way more might than your opponent. If you can break your opponent, they're going to lose so many models to just running away. This is a great battle plan if you're playing a scenario where you simply need to kill your opponents. However, capturing objectives can be a bit more challenging. There are a lot of scenarios which revolve around objectives. This is going to be challenging because you don't have many models, only 9 at a maximum, and you don't like splitting your army up because your terror in the Knight ability is stronger when you're all in a group together. So a great way to prevent a large amount of enemy models from moving on to objectives is with the Instill Fear magical power. Now, I haven't seen this power used very often. Every model within 3 inches of your caster must take a courage test. If they fail, they must move their maximum distance away from the caster and may move no further that turn. Normally, I don't think that this power is that good, because even if a couple models pass their courage tests, they'll prevent other models from moving away, because if you hit a friendly model, you stop moving. But with -3 courage, this is a lot more reliable. You generally want to cast this power on a turn where you have priority. That way, if the enemy fails their courage test, they may move no further that turn and they're delayed for longer. This can be great for thinning ranks around an objective by just pushing the enemy away. In domination or hold ground, it can be invaluable. You can also use it to create space that your wraiths can then run through and take. In scenarios like Heirlooms for Ages Past or Reconnoiter, this could be really, really helpful. Now, I know some people like dirty tactics, so there is one major one that you can do with the wraiths. Just know that I don't condone this. A lot of scenarios end when one army has been reduced to 25%. If you have 9 wraiths, this means that you just need 2 models remaining. To my understanding, in the Legendary Legion, if the wraiths are reduced to 0 will, they still die as per the Will of Evil special rule. This means that if you're ahead on victory points, you can cast throwaway spells using all of a wraith's will point to kill itself. Do this with all of your wraiths except for one, and the game will end. Your opponent will get points for breaking you, so you will need to have a decent lead for it to actually work. This is a dirty tactic, but it's important to know how to play against it. It means that if you're against wraiths, you cannot let them get the lead at any point in the game, otherwise they might just disappear and end the game. So that's all I have for wraith tactics, but what can you do to beat them? Well, a lot of things, to be honest. If you have bodyguard, keep that hero safe no matter what. But the main way to beat the wraiths is getting them off their horses. If they're on foot, their damage potential is so much lower. The best way to knock them off their horses is with shooting. Shoot the wraiths as much as possible. Siege weapons are great for this because there's no good places for it to scatter for the wraiths. Although, don't use siege engines because no one enjoys playing against them. If you're fighting a wraith and win the fight, always, and I mean always, target the horse first. Once the horse is dead, then you can think about killing the wraith, but don't even try to hit it until it's off its horse. Armies with a lot of high fight, like elves, I'm looking at you, are a good counter as well because the wraiths will be so much less consistent winning fights. They'll also struggle to have big turns where they kill a lot of models. And that's it for everything tactical. Let's write a few army lists. We're going to start with a 750 point army list and then a 500 point list. Now, in list building, my theory for wraiths is go for the maximum amount of might and take a bit of fate on every model. You don't need to upgrade your will that much because you have a lot to begin with, and the free heroic transfix gives you extra free magic, so you don't need the will as much. Also, you want to take as many wraiths as possible because you're always rewarded for having more models. So, at 750, I have taken the Witch King with 3 might, 2 fate, and the Morgul Blade, and 8 wraiths with 2 might and 1 fate. This fits perfectly. You have all 9, so you get the -3 courage bubble, and it's the whole set, so it's very thematic. Now, I think that this is the point limit where the wraiths seem like they're going to operate the best. If you want to play higher point games, just add in heaps more will on everything and make sure that you use it. You want to end every game with just 1 will on every wraith, so just cast a lot more black darts to thin out the enemy ranks. Now, I've seen some people leave the Morgul Blade off the Witch King. Always take the Morgul Blade. Honestly guys, it's an auto-include for him. Sure, there are quite a few matchups where it just doesn't make a difference. But when you go up against an army like Smaug or a Mumak or anything with monsters, it's worth a hell of a lot more than 5 points, and it's just always worth taking. For a 500 point list, I took something very similar to my 750 point list. I took the Witch King, 3 might, 2 fate, and the Morgul Blade, and then 5 ring wraiths this time. 3 of them have 2 might and 1 fate, and 2 of them just have 2 might and no fate. I think that both of these lists are a good way to play it. But I haven't play tested them yet because, well, I'm still on lockdown here and I haven't got those Black Rider models yet. So at the start, I said that the old Black Riders were almost impossible to win with. Has that changed? Yes, absolutely. They're a lot more powerful than they used to be, but they're still going to be very challenging to use successfully and will definitely require an experienced player to be successful with them. So some things in this tactic video might change when I try it in practice, but I think that this is a pretty solid place to start. Now, if you try them and you find that some of the things that I've said maybe aren't as accurate or could be expanded upon, let me know in the comments and I'd love to know. If people are interested in more of these tactics and list reveal videos, leave a comment because next I can do the breaking of the fellowship if enough people are interested. So until next time guys, have a good one.